Welcome to Auntie K's, your favorite radical, queer, indigenous auntie, bringing you tarot every day. Hi, and welcome to Auntie K's Tarot, and welcome to 2023. I'm filming this New Year's Day, technically. It is about 1 a.m. my time. For the first time, my 8-year-old, celebrated New Year's, making it right to midnight, doing sparklers with friends and landmates. And we had fancy foods and we played games, and they've gone home. And I am sitting here and I'm going to share with you what has changed for me in my tarot practice and what has stayed the same over the course of 2022. And so I'm filming this today at the very, very beginning of 2023. I'm also going to take you for a little tour in this new space. It's not 100% done. There's another bookshelf to go up. And there is a bit more painting to still occur, but it's pretty great, and I'm going to include that. So here's my home coming in the front entrance. This is my golden pothos, and you see we're also going to have another plant in there, and a broom and some turquoise for the entrance. My drapes. This is my reading table. It gives me a nice backdrop of window or drapes, and I can join the main room while I'm in between calls. This is our living room area. This is a little reading area, and the bookshelves, which I really enjoy, like the live wood edge. And this little area is altar area. Bathroom is an absolute gift. It has this gorgeous tile mosaic. You can see that not all the walls are quite finished being painted, but they're all going to be that beautiful green. This is my amazing side table that also becomes an 8-person table. And this is the kitchen. You can see where another plant is going to go. And then this is some of my collected gemstones. And this is where we go upstairs to the very large loft that has 3 double and queen beds, but my 8-year-old is sleeping, so we will just let that be. So this is my little home in the granny flat or the chalet, and we are very warm and comfortable, and I am so thankful to show you all. Okay, so let's get started on what has changed and what has stayed the same in my tarot practice in 2023. When, a year ago, I got the Morning Calm Oracle, which was something that was really high on my list. And I was using oracles pretty regularly in my daily practice. And I was really enjoying decks like this, the little Buddha. I struggled with their thick cardstock. This is Mystic Medleys. I struggled with their thick cardstock. That was an ongoing struggle. But when I started working on the hotlines, that just made cards that were difficult to shuffle not practical, and I didn't frequently use them. And so as much as I enjoyed Mystic Medleys, it's one I managed to break in and use somewhat. But as I got more cards I was using more often, it got used less. I was so in love with Dream Visions at the end of last year, a year ago, beginning of 2022. And I really do like the art in it. But again, it's not easy to shuffle. And so I didn't frequently use this deck. A result of just I'm not using these thick cardstock decks is that I got the linen version of the Gentle Tarot. I kept talking about wanting it, and then I got it at the end of 2022 for Solstice because I really like using this deck. And having it in linen just made it a deck that I was using, you know, every time I used the rose petal finish, I said I would use this more if I had linen. And so I got it, and I have used it at work. I knew I wanted to work with Marseille more, and I had this from 2021 and another deck, and for the beginning of 2022, I got the Trumpet Luna. But each of the Marseille decks I got, they had a lot of variation from the typical Marseille. And I was really struggling with finding a Marseille deck that was actually diverse and read like a Marseille deck, pretty on point for further study of it. And in the end, I did end up using this deck, but more for personal reads until the end of 2022 when I got the Cat Marseille, and I've been using them both pretty frequently for work. And I have really been enjoying using them, and really using them at work proves to be a good deep dive. And sometimes after I've done reading for a client, if there's some space in between, I'll, you know, a couple key cards that really stood out in the reading, I'll do a bit more study of them while I'm waiting for the next card, or while I'm waiting for the next call. And that has been really great. But the Cat Marseille at the end of 2022 was more what I was looking for. And the Multi Marseille is on my list to get in the first quarter of 2023. So as I said, I was using Oracle a fair bit in 2021 and going into 2022. And when I started working on the Hotlines, I ordered these two decks, the My Life Purpose and Soul Mate cards by Pretty Spirits, thinking I would use them a lot for work. And like I did the first couple weeks I got them, but each deck is like 100 cards, and either one of them is too much, even with super flexible cardstock, to use a lot. And I thought just words on it would be simple and I would dive right into it, but it turned out that I just really didn't use them much. Well, I obtained some other Oracle decks I quite liked in 2022. They occasionally, Oracle deck makes a guest appearance on my work table. But more often, they're the random daily card pull, you know, or used in a personal spread, which, you know, I do a few a week, because I'm, you know, 5 days a week, I'm reading like at least 10 people a day. So, you know, I don't do as many personal reads. And so while these are some decks I quite liked, they didn't get used frequently. They made guest appearances at work, but I don't really use Oracle a whole lot in my work. I was gifted Songs of the Grandmothers, and so in the past month, this does make guest appearances at work. And I have it in a place that's not my like go-to grab stack, but where I can really easily reach it and grab it if it's needed. And this is mostly used to give people added comfort in their guidance when they're struggling with the reading or the information that they're getting. When I just added to my collection as a solstice gift for myself is Sign of the Times. And this is in my reading pile, but might have a spot just like Songs of the Grandmothers. I use this deck when somebody is looking for a sign, or if there's a particular point in the future in their reading that it is something to look out for or look forward to, and then I will pull from this deck as their sign to start paying attention. This is what the reading was talking about. So let's talk about two major changes in reading for me and tarot decks this year. I figured out what my aesthetic was, but you'll note that the decks I was going for are non-clone RWS decks. This was my thing, and Sastra Obito was a deck that was on my wish list. But in reading for clients, I don't use these decks as much as I thought I would, which means, and this isn't the easiest for me to shuffle, and maybe that's part of the issue, but I'm not using RWS non-clone decks all that much in client readings. Again, they're a guest appearance sometimes because I just want to work with that deck. And while I might pull them out for a week, they realistically get used for a day or two. I got the Sufi Tarot for Solstice, knowing that as a Hay House deck that's oracle sized for a tarot, that it would end up being a deck I would use almost exclusively for personal reads and pull it out for a couple days to enjoy and work on the odd reading. And I have done that, but mostly what I'll do is just pull 3 cards from it to like dive into one section of something a little deeper, or as further guidance on something. I only pulled like 2 9-card spreads with this because it is beautiful, but it's not super practical to work with, and I really just am not, that they're not as useful in the work that I'm mostly doing. That aside, the Fortune Queen's Tarot was what I had identified at the end of 2021 going into 2022 as my tarot aesthetic, except that it's an RWS clone. although there was one or two I'd noted I'd like the little Buddha and Mystic Medleys. So I guess I had identified that too. And this deck, even though it's really big, it's super flexible, so I can shuffle corner to corner. And so I use this deck a lot for work because it's fun. And there's something about the clone that lets me choose to either get lost in the picture or just be like, I know what this card means, and I'm going into associations of this card and what pops into my head of those associations. But the RWS decks that I mostly brought in and worked with heavily in 2022 were Pip Decks, such as Fifth Spirit, and you can now get this in mass market, but Fifth Spirit, and I have it in linen cardstock, which is so easy for my hands to shuffle. It's my favorite. Spectral Whirl, which was a Pip deck I reviewed, became a deck that I use frequently for work. Like I've been using Pip Decks as my main RWS decks when it comes to work. So the Tarot Life is a deck I used not as much as Spectral Whirl or Fifth Spirit, but it was easy to use. I really like the images and the choices made in it. It is a non-clone deck. It's linen cardstock. That's not changed as my favorite. It's so easy for me to shuffle. And, you know, I've really come to appreciate, you know, a classic finish, a smooth, on standard cardstocks as well as linens, because they are really usable for me. There's something about the simplicity of these images that shares a similarity to reading a Pip deck. It's not really a Pip deck. Maybe it's moderately illustrated. And I use it a moderate amount. It does more than a guest appearance on my work table, but it's not there as much as the Pip decks. Another review deck that's a Pip deck they've really come to be using is the Great Lakes Tarot. These are the pips in this deck. So it really is a Pip deck. And I've been learning the keyword associations, and I got a white pen, and I think I'm going to write them on the deck if I can do it delicately enough, small enough, just because I think I'll use it as much as the Fifth Spirit if I do that. So let's talk about the biggest change that happened in 2022. I started working on the hotlines. I kept being like called to the hotlines, but like, you know, my little indigenous anarchist heart was like, we can make a hotline collective. But really what I like about working for the hotlines is the only work I'm doing is reading. I'm not doing the management. I'm not doing the financial side of it. I'm not recruiting clients. I'm not doing advertising. I'm just reading. And I don't have to put in all that other work that I'm not being paid for. And yes, the hotlines take part of, you know, what is charged to the client for my call, but that's all the money and hours of doing all those things I don't want to do. But when I picked up the Gwitch fortune telling cards, I was like, oh damn, oh damn, I understand why, you know, certain readers I know use these cards, and reached back to old connections and confirmed that and got some tips. And I was like, this is great, but I just can't use these Gwitch cards, even though I love how they read. The writing's really tiny. The pictures, let's choose a better example. Not all the pictures are super clear as to what you're looking at right away. And so this ended up being like, I need to make what I need to use just now. Because the process was also really educational. And I essentially made my own clone of the Gwitch Oracle. The words are more updated and modern representation for the few cards that show people is there. And, you know, the Gwitch Oracle is such a classic deck that so many people use. It's not in line with a lot of the cartomancy books or the Lenormand exactly, but it works, it makes sense, these systems make sense. So I did that, and I bought Lenormand decks. The Healing Light Lenormand, beautiful, but way too big, so it doesn't really get used. The Tea Leaf reading cards was 200 cards. I put it down to what worked for me in, like, I think it's in the 50, 60 card range of cards that would work for me that I liked. There was plenty of cards that, you know, had cards with similar meanings that I could narrow down and choose this one, that one, another one. And so this is a deck that I like. And I also got the Maybe Lenormand. And I was like, oh, like, actually, I really like cartomancy. And I really like Lenormand decks that also have, you know, my face card on here. But, oh my God, are they ever white, despite how few they are? And so I got the Rana George, which quickly became, like, my favorite Lenormand. I also got the Dreaming Way. I don't use it a super lot either. And I was given this cartomancy deck, the Curious Cat Club's deck, which is a deck of playing cards. And I've added their title and their keywords to them. Man, once I did it on one deck, I was like all in. And I was like, yeah, I like cartomancy decks. So I also got the Mandalorian, and I haven't really used this one yet. I'm working with some other ones first. I got this really beautifully linen finished Ripley's playing card deck of donuts, and I made my own set of various keywords and associations and little, like, clues to different areas of life. Like, this one has a one for health, work, learning, spiritual. This is me working out, experimenting with how I am reading playing cards. And, you know, you can't pass Boxing Day up without some sort of special. So I got Patrick Valenza's Mischief Transformation playing cards. and they arrived the other day, and I immediately thrown them on my table and worked with them. And I also got Monica Brodowski's Between the Worlds Oracle and Curio cards. I put their keywords on it, and I've been reading the book, and I have used these to accent Lenormand and Marseille readings, and I've also pulled 2 readings just with these cards, and they were lovely. So there's been a real shift in the cards I'm working with that has come from the work I'm doing. And, you know, I work 5 days a week. I do about, I'm going to say, I think about 10 calls a day. So like 50 readings a week. And what I have gravitated to is Marseille, Pip cards, and fortune-telling systems from Lenormand to playing cards, and these curio cards, which one could argue are oracle cards, but I think they function a lot more like fortune-telling and cartomancy, to be really honest with you. Interestingly, a deck that stays accessible on my table that I've had for several years is this Fortune Cookies deck. If you call me for a general reading, I'm pulling playing cards or Lenormand cards, and I'm also probably pulling one of these cards also. And so I think that's really fascinating, the amount I've moved away from full illustrations and in RWS system, when the amount of work I was doing reading was for other people was big. And you know, I don't mind doing a general reading. I have this moment of panic. Well, first, I check in and sort of explore if there's something really that they're looking to ask that they aren't. Is there something in particular I should look for in this general reading that you want to see? Any particular person, any area you particularly want to concentrate on? And then I will start there and work out. It takes a lot more trust of the messages I'm receiving when I'm doing a general reading, because it's pretty much cold. If it's really short, like if someone orders a general reading for a 3-minute video, it's going to be a general answer. Just like if they ask me, like, you know, 3 or more questions for a 3-minute video, all the answers are going to be general. If it's a longer reading, they become really exciting, because you pick out or hit something, you know, and they're surprised, and they weren't expecting that, and it's like, whew, it's scary, but the return is that much more validating of skills when you let go and just say, yeah, I'm in. And I think I like that about past life readings too. I also use these when people are asking for readings from loved ones who've passed on, you know, a sign from them. These are really good for that. I also picked up using dice. And while I do throw them and read in accordance to this book that came with them, the Elemental Divination dice, I mostly use it as 1 and 2 as a hard no, 5 and 6 as a hard yes, 4 as a probably yes, and 3 as a probably, 3 as a probably no. And that can be really useful when I'm in a larger reading and the person has some yes/no questions within it. I end up using these a lot. It's fastest and most efficient. So these are the ways my practice grew and changed over the course of 2022. And, you know, the work for my Marseille deck really, despite bumps like losing a bunch of the art, not all of it, but a bunch of it, to a corrupted file, meant I also learned a lot about how to properly protect my files and about the use of my computer, but is coming along, and I've been really excited about it, and I've really enjoyed writing the guidebook. So those are the changes for me in, you know, my reflections back over 2022 and the growth I took in this year. And I wait till hear how you have grown and changed in your card reading practice over the course of 2022 and going into 2023. And you can let me know in the comments. You can also do a video. I expect to see more Marseille and more playing card decks in my future in 2023. So we will see how that goes.